Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hi, do you enjoy diving into true crime
and tales of the paranormal?
Then join us. I'm Anna.
And I'm Lindsay on our podcast, Ghosts in the Attic, Bodies in the Basement,
a Fearscape Media Network podcast.
New episodes air every other Friday on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Coming to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown, your ghoulish hosts for an evening of terror, Stefan Gearhart and Lance Wayne, the Misters of the Dark.
Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to another terrifying episode of Misters of the Dark, the greatest horror podcast in the history of horror podcasting. As always, we're beaming directly to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown. And I'm your headmister, Lord Stefan Gearhart.
And I'm your co-mister, the man with no name, Lance Wayne.
Yeah, sadly, it seems we've been caught in another of Nowhere's 40 days and 40 nights of persistent precipitation problems. I'm just relieved we live on a hill.
Stefan, I'm bored. I'm tired of being cooped up in here.
Oh, come on now, Lance. There's lots of indoor fun to be had. Did you finish your 1,000-piece puzzle of Saturn devouring his sun?
Yes.
What about that self-portrait done entirely in Lark's vomit?
Finish that.
Well, shit! We need to do something to amuse our dear friends who decided to join us tonight, so, I don't know, why don't we discuss that terrifying Ray Wise film we watched the other night?
What? No. There is no way in hell I'm discussing God's Not Dead 2, Stefan. I'm still having nightmares about Pat Boone.
Okay, we all are. We all are. But that's not what I'm talking about, you fool. I'm talking about the 1982 Wes Craven film, DC Comics' Swamp Thing.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Swamp Thing, okay, I'm glad you remember it now. We watched it. I'm not talking about Return of the Swamp Thing with Heather Locklear.
Even though I love that film.
We both watched that one first.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll talk about that some other time. Okay, I'm not talking about the TV series. Both TV series, the new one or the old one, both I canceled ahead of their time.
Yeah, I remember the old one vaguely, and I remember loving. I was a big Swamp Thing nerd growing up, because and I loved the live action show. But the thing was, it came on at really weird times. It was in syndication. Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen the new one, but I want to ask you this: do you remember the animated series?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Sure
do you remember the theme song?
I don't remember the theme song, but I watched the hell out of it. And I used to have a DVD copy that I picked up at like Big Lots that had two discs, and it had the whole series of Swamp Thing and the whole series of Toxic Avenger, the animated series. They came.
Yeah, I have a Toxic. I do have a Toxic.
It was like
Avenger.
A double whammy set that I got at Big Lots for like $5 back in the day.
No, but that theme song. Swamp Thing. Everything. Yeah.
I forgot they ripped that.
Yeah, because for the longest time, I thought that was the song. I thought they wrote that song specifically, and then I heard Wild Thing. I was like, what the fuck?
What the hell,
Bobby? Swamp Thing.
This is some bullshit.
This is some bullshit.
I don't know how I feel about it, but I know one thing is bullshit.
That had an awesome toy series too.
Yeah. So Swamp Thing is pretty. I mean, and we haven't even talked about the comic book series.
Oh my God!
Has consistently just been amazing since it started. The Alan Moore run, the recent run of New 52. I mean, it's just been phenomenal. And let me just say, in the New 52, or right before New 52, when they gave Swamp Thing wings, coolest thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Coolest thing that ever happened.
That's an awesome story. I feel like it goes a bit overlooked because the guy, when they did New 52, the guy, I always want to say Scott, I think it's Scott Snyder, the writer. Mm-hmm. He was also doing New 52 Batman. And I always feel like Swamp Thing kind of got overshadowed because his run on Batman was so good, and it was. I mean,
it was a solid ass run. I mean, the Court of Owls got introduced to everything. So I can see.
That Swamp Thing. If anybody listening, if you had not read that first run of Scott Snyder, New 52 Swamp Thing, please, you're doing it a service to yourself.
It's excellent. I've been recently going back because I have that DC Universe Infinite account, and so I've been going back, and I actually started reading the Swamp Thing series that Alan Moore came on board, but I didn't realize he came on until like not episode, but issue like 22. So I actually read the 22 issues. I read the 22 issues up to it. They were pretty good too. Like, because that's Abby Arcane shows up, and like a lot of like great characters that we know. I always just assumed Alan Moore created, but no, they were kind of
Bernie. You know the artist Bernie Wrightson, right? Mm-hmm. He was. I think he was the first. I think he helped create Swamp Thing. If I'm not, I know he was the first one to like draw him, but he was I think he was co-creator too. Bernie Wrightson, he does all that awesome Frankenstein stuff.
Yes, which God, we were so close to getting that Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie based off of his art. I wanted that so bad.
I know.
But so we got to talk about Swamp Thing, and the movie, which was 1982. Okay, the very, very first thing that we've got to talk about is the fact that this is a Wes Craven film.
Yeah. That blew my mind when I found that, because I've watched this movie. I'm probably the same as you. I've watched this movie ever since I was a kid.
Yep.
I mean, it was a childhood favorite. But when later on, when I got into the Freddy's and stuff like that, I found out that he made this film. It blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 2 years prior to Nightmare on Elm Street.
We are, yeah.
And what about 4 years after Last House on the left? I don't have that in front of me.
I think Last House came out I want to say 78. I'm probably wrong. 78.
That's what I was thinking. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty remarkable for such a B movie.
Was it? If I'm not mistaken, this was like, I mean, Last House, of course, that's what kind of got his name out there. But this movie did fairly well, didn't it?
We'll go over all that, the budget and what they made and all that stuff. But yeah, we're looking at 1982. This was filmed. It not only was this directed by Wes Craven, but it was also written by Wes Craven.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
which produced also blows my mind.
I just want to throw this in there too, just kind of as a another little comic book tie-in. But Michael, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Michael Uslin, I believe is his name.
God bless you.
He produced this film, and he was the one. He's pretty much the reason we had the Michael Keaton Batman film, the Tim Burton Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
Batman
he was the producer of the Batman films.
Yeah, because he bought the rights.
Mm-hmm. He was. What's interesting about Michael Uslin as well is he was the first instructor to ever teach an accredited course on comic book folklore.
Yeah. There's a really. I suggest whoever's listening go by this or however you read, but he has a really good biography. It came out a couple of years ago. I had it. It was called The Boy Who Loved Batman. Tells all his whole. I mean,
yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah. I didn't know that was about this guy. He's and I do want to take a second to talk about him because he's really interesting. He's a big comic book nerd, right? Yeah. I mean, he's responsible for some really cool stuff. Like one of my favorite shows was back in the day, the game show Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego.
Oh, did he do that?
Yep, he's one of the. Yep, he's one of those big one. He was, of course, a Swamp Thing in the Batman movies. He's also done a number of direct-to-video feature lengths, including with those ones based off of Batman the Animated Series and The Batman. So he's been a part of that. But with every good thing comes a bad thing. He's also responsible for two of the shittiest comic book movies of all time. 2004's Catwoman and 2008's The Spirit.
Oh man, did he really? He helped out with The Spirit?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Catwoman, I'm not surprised because it just like the stuff you were just naming off. If it's something Warner Brothers and it's Batman, Michael Uslan has his fingerprints on it somehow.
But yeah, he was involved in that. And The Spirit, which, God, I wanted that to be so good, but it was not. And he was also one of the producers. Now, I will say, though, The Spirit at least tried. I think The Spirit at least tried to be a good movie. I mean, they were trying to do that Frank Miller style because, when
Frank Miller directed it.
Right. And so he was trying to kind of push the style. Because directors, if they do a Frank Miller piece, they're like, we have to make it look like the comic panel, so which they did good with the Sin City movies and 300. I really liked that. Yeah. But it didn't work for The Spirit because I don't know.
That movie was it was so all over.
They just missed an opportunity to do a very cool film noir version. And I just think
it did. I mean, there are times I've watched that fucking thing, and I was like, I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
And you were right. Looking at it here, Swamp Thing was created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, so you were right about that. So this movie focuses on the story of the scientist Alec Holland, who's played by Ray Wise, which I'm a huge Ray Wise fan.
Yeah, well, he's in RoboCop.
He's in everything. Like for those of you that don't know who he is, he was in Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, yeah. He was like Laura Palmer's dad.
Laura Palmer's dad. He was in one of my favorite shows that got canceled after the first season. I'm still mad to this day, which was Reaper. He played the devil, and he was amazing as the devil. It was a comedy show and it was so good. I think Kevin Smith produced it. It was just a great show and it got ruined. And I'm still mad to this day because I wanted to watch more.
But God's Not Dead too.
Yeah, God's Not Dead too. He's in Star Trek Voyager.
Terrifying movie.
Yeah, he's been in all kinds of shit and he's still in stuff. I mean, he was in Fargo, the TV show Fargo, Gilmore Girls. I mean, his dude's been in everything. And he ain't done yet. But yes, he was also in God's Not Dead too. So
I don't know, man. Every time I look at him, I just always think, get off of me, man. he's the first one, that the dude who falls in the toxic waste in RoboCop. He's all like, hell.
Yep. That scene in RoboCop messed me up.
It messed everybody up, I think.
This day.
In the Ed 209.
Yes. But so it's about the scientist Alec Holland who becomes transformed into the monster, the Swamp Thing, through laboratory sabotage orchestrated by the evil Anton Arcane, which in the comics, Abby Arcane, which is his daughter, later becomes a love interest.
It's a niece.
Or Abby niece. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
In the movie. Yeah, that's one thing. Because like I said, I grew up, we didn't have a comic book shop in Taylorsville. So But when I got a little older and could, go out to the Highlands or whatever and buy comics, I was so surprised by Arcane in the comics and Arcane in the films. Because in the films, he's like this suave, evil. And in the comics, he's like he's pretty much like an evil sorcerer or something.
Yeah.
He like lives in a castle. What is it? He runs.
Well, that makes more sense because it's Arcane. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, but yeah, I mean, Anton Arcane, played by Louis Jordan, is something special.
Dude, there's actually because I researched him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he did it on stage or if they did it was some kind of film, but he played Dracula.
Yeah, it was a BBC television. It was a television production in 1977.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, he's a great actor. I mean, he's in a bunch of crap too that you love and know. You know what I mean? He was in a
Bond film, I believe.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of Selznick movies. Selznick's the guy that produced Gone with the Wind, very famous producer from back in the day. He did a lot with Selznick. He was in Three Coins in the Fountain, which is a really great one of my favorite movies. He was in the remake of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was also in the Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. Yeah, I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm looking over here. And then, of course, his great TV horror movies, Fear No Evil, Ritual of Evil, stuff like that. Man even did a Columbo episode.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're right. He was Kamal Khan in Octopussy, the James Bond movie. So he is definitely. Oh man, I didn't even realize this. I need to go back and watch this now. His last role was in Year of the Comet, which is another great sci-fi.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen.
So, but he's great. I will say this movie feels very much like a TV movie. I will say that. But anyways, so we've got the evil Anton Arcane later helps a woman named Swamp Thing helps a woman named Alice Cable. She's never called Alice. She's only ever called Cable. And that's the very famous Scream Queen, Adrienne Barbeau. And there's battles against Arcane and all of his minions and all of that jazz. So like we said, it's directed by Wes Craven, written by Wes Craven. Music's done by Harry Manfredi.
Yes! I that blew my mind. I never... And I was even like paying attention to it too throughout the film. I was like, this could have easily been a Friday the 13th score.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that blew my mind though.
Yep. Not only that, the production company cracks me up because it's called Swamp Films, and I'm like, now hold up. Was Swamp Films before this movie, or they were like, we need to come up with a movie.
Yeah.
We need to come up. Well, Swamp Thing's gonna make $1 bajillion. Let's be Swamp Films.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because it's not a clickable link. But this was released in February 19th of 1982, ran 91 minutes. However, there is an uncut international version out there that's 93 minutes. So it's 2 more minutes, probably just of Adrienne Barbeau's boobs.
Yeah.
Which was very surprising because it feels like a TV movie. And then all of a sudden, there's her boobs.
Well, I think maybe a TV movie with a slightly better budget. Because some of those... Okay. An
HBO movie from back then.
There we go.
From back then. An HBO...
I don't know about you, but that fire stunt when Alec Holland, gets doused in flames or whatever, that is a pretty fucking crazy fire stunt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
talking about all the old school... special effects and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, this the film they mostly filmed this in Charleston, South Carolina, and nearby Johns Island. And yeah, there was only a budget of $2.5 million, which Wes Craven was very proud in delivering the movie that he did. Still talked about it till the end of his days that this film, surprisingly, was with the budget he had. He felt like he put something out there that was fantastic. So, but yeah, so let's get into the movie a little bit here. There's some weird things that happen in this movie.
Yeah.
And knowing that Wes Craven wrote this makes Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 feel a little bit more accurate.
Well, he didn't write Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
I was just making a joke. But yeah, so the whole thing takes place in the damn swamp. I mean, this happens. I mean, we've got immediately we see a scientist getting killed by this group of thugs. I mean, that's essentially how the movie starts. What do they shove into his snake? Yeah, so they like capture the scientist, and one of the dudes pulls out a giant snake
out of his pocket
and just lets it bite this guy's face.
You know how you do. You carry a snake around in your pocket.
In his pocket, and the snake's not biting him, but it'll bite this guy's face.
I want you to look this up specifically for me too. But I believe the Rambo looking kind of guy, Ferret, I believe is his name.
Yeah, Ferret.
I believe he played Krug. And yes, that is short for Kruger, which Wes Craven eventually used. But he played Krug in Last House on the Left.
Yes, he did. I'm looking at it right here.
That was driving me crazy.
And we were way off. Last House on the Left came out in 1982.
Oh, really? I thought it came out in the 70s.
Sorry, 72. 1972.
Oh, damn, it came out that early.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm drunk on murder. I didn't do that. But yeah, he played Krug. Good call, dude. Oh, dude, this is weird how this all connects. So in 1962, his name is David Hess, by the way. In 1962, David Hess wrote and recorded Speedy Gonzales, which became a number 6 single on the U.S. charts for one Pat Boone.
That bastard. He fucking haunts me.
That's so funny. So this dude was apparently a songwriter before he became an actor.
And if you want to look this up also, I'm almost 100% sure. Do you know that song at the end of the original Nightmare on Elm Street? It's kind of like a synthy kind of rock song. Mm-hmm. It's a nightmare. It's just a dream. I'm pretty sure he wrote and performed that also.
I don't know, but I will say that he did record a version of All Shook Up. And then he ended up, Elvis liked it so much, Elvis had him write a number of his songs for him.
No shit.
Yeah. I don't see, does it got his music list on here? Television crew, soundtrack music. Okay, I'm looking at his soundtrack and music. I do not see Nightmare on Elm Street on here.
I could swear that.
So...
I'm looking that up, man.
But
all right, keep going. I'm listening.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, David has the Jewish Rambo. The Jewish Rambo there. So we get this guy killed. They pulls a damn snake out of his pants and bites this guy's face. While at the same time, you've got Alice Cable, Adrienne Barbeau, arriving at the bog. Well, not at the same time, right after, to serve as his replacement. So he's some sort of, this is a government installation. So this isn't like just independent scientific research station or anything like that. This is a government run one, and Cable arrives there to serve as the replacement for the guy that was killed, or I don't even know. I don't remember if they knew he was killed or not, or whether they just thought he disappeared. But immediately upon heading to the research center, she realizes that one of the swamp sensors has malfunctioned. And so she gets introduced to a guy named Harry Ritter, who is the project supervisor. And then her guide, Charlie, tells Ritter that there is a rumor about an evil paramilitary leader named Anton Arcade who intends to hijack their operation. And this is where we get into Arcane here, not as a magician, sorcerer type person in the comics, but more of a Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day,
almost a terrorist, I guess.
Yeah, like a rich terrorist is really what he's kind of. He's just a Bond villain. I mean, essentially, he's a Bond villain. That's a better accurate there. He's a Bond villain. Anyways, so Charlie briefs Ritter on the situation, and Alice then introduces herself to Dr. Linda Holland. And her brother, lead scientist, Dr. Alec Holland, who takes her on a tour and encourages her to admire the beauty of the swamps. Now, I will tell you, if you do not pay attention, you will assume that they are married. Like,
yeah, they're actually brothers.
Like I did, because in the comic books, they are married. That's his wife, is Linda Holland.
In the comics,
yeah. And so you're really weirded out when he starts hitting on Cable right in front of Linda. Like, you're like, what the shit is going on? And I've watched this movie a lot over the years, and it was not until this watching that I realized, wait a minute.
That's a sister. You
didn't realize? Really? Oh no! Even watching it this time, because that's always been my thing. Is I've always been like, he is just blatantly cheating on his wife. Like, that's always been my biggest, weirdest thing about this film. Is I never understood why Wes Craven wrote that he cheated on his wife so blatantly, and that we're supposed to be okay with it until this watching.
Okay, wow!
And then I was like,
I knew that, man.
Oh. That makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean,
and like I said, I think it's because I'm biased by the comics. The comics have always influenced me. So.
Yeah, but I do as a sister. I think it's a little weird that she has a locket of him. I mean, you know. No,
she even kind of acts like his wife. Like, it's so weird. Like, they're like the powerhouse husband and wife, but they're not. They're siblings. Just a heads up. Spoiler alert. They're brother and sister. But anyways, so
Luke and Leia thing going.
Well, it's funny because she's like, "Oh," Cable's like, "Oh, you're Dr. Holland." She's like, "Well, yeah, I'm Dr. Holland, but I'm not the Dr. Holland."
I'm just a woman, dude.
I'm a woman. When it really looks like she's the one that did most of the work. It's just Alec wrote shit down in a book.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Cable at this point meets lead scientist Dr. Alec Holland, of course played by Ray Wise, who takes her on tour and encourages her to admire the beauty of the swamps, because she's like, I'm not a fan of this. I don't like the bugs. I don't like humidity. I don't like this. And he's like, it's because you ain't seen it through me.
Yeah.
But apparently she wasn't supposed to leave. And she comes back, and Ritter and Charlie both scold Cable for distracting Alec, who needs to be doing his work. There's a government job.
Yep.
There's a government job. You do your work. But Alice mentioned, or excuse me, I'm not going to call her Alice. When Cable mentions the broken sensor, Ritter reveals that her predecessor was attempting to repair it when he was killed. And then they talk about the disappearance of their workers. And then there's this giant loud bang where we come back and we see that Dr. Linda Holland has made a discovery, a breakthrough with the gooey goodness that they had been working on. I guess, what would they call it? Oh, their plant-based concoction has. Now, this is where I find funny. This is where the writing is weird to me. So it has this explosive properties, right? And so she's like, look up here. And she's like, she dips her hands into the slime and then throws it to the ground and it explodes. I'm like, I wouldn't be putting my bare hands in there if this explodes, because I don't know that in the 5 minutes you've figured this out, that you've tested to see what the pressure is that's needed, and she does it multiple times. She just shoves her. So
honestly, I just thought, aside from thinking how much the chemical or whatever looked like Ecto Cooler and the stuff from Reanimator. Also, man, I've always had this.
It was made out of Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but don't you just find, man, there was something about that, like from the 80s to the early 90s. Toy companies and stuff were just pushing slime. We had Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
We had the Toxic Avenger. We had Swamp Thing. We had Ninja Turtles.
We had everything Nickelodeon.
Yeah, with slime. I mean, I just wonder what.
I can remember, I think even one of the He-Man.
Yes.
Some of the He-Man action figures, but I think one of the Skeletor's castle, you could press it and ooze would come out of its eyes, and come down, and you're like, yeah. I will tell you, kids are still into slime. It's still a thing.
Oh yeah. Don't believe me, I know that.
Now you got I was at the grocery store. They got the edible slime, from Jell-O. It's basically like a pudding Jell-O mix. But yeah, it's edible slime.
Well, we didn't eat it as a kid. I don't know.
Some kids.
Yeah. I just have to give the human race too much credit.
Some kids did, and they're now the one that's like in Taylorsville, like, I'm from so and so street. I'm ghetto.
Like that. From the hood. Taylorsville.
Oh man.
Compton with cows.
Right, Compton with cows. Compton. But yeah, so you've got this explosive stuff here. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It's exploding. She's just throwing it on the floor, all kinds of stuff like that. And Alex pretty pumped about this as well. And then Alex shows Cable a hybrid plant and animal cell, which is his prize discovery, is this potential of breeding essentially plant and animal together, which is a pretty cool concept. I don't recall that being in the comics, but that is definitely something that shows up in the comics later on. So I don't know who influenced who, but very, very interesting stuff.
I think in the comics it was just more of a like the ending world hunger type of thing. Like.
Yeah. So there was definitely not a hybrid based thing. But anyways, a little bit later, Dr. Holland notices that plants have grown out of the wood that she threw the explosive plant concoction to, and they realized, oh shit, Dr. Linda's formula, it's like can do rapid plant growth on the surfaces that they touch. So they're super pumped, and this is for me was always very awkward because Alec then grabs Cable and kisses her. And then his sister comes in, but at the time, remember back in the day, I always thought that was his wife, and she just goes and you can tell she's uncomfortable.
Well, because at first, if you remember, he goes, Linda, come here, look. Yeah. And that's when he decides to kiss her. And then, she does walk in. She's like, what?
And at this point, he's already been hitting on her hard. Like, he has been hitting on Cable hard at this point. It is very apparent that he wants some Barbeau in his life. So I don't know why. What did I say?
According to my mother, everybody did at that time.
I told you, I think she looks like a hybrid of Michael Jackson from Off the Wall and fucking Weird Al from UHF. Like you merge them together and put boobs on them. You got Adrienne Barbeau. Now we'll say,
she's a fantastic actress. She's a
fantastic actress. I love her in all her films, and she does have she does have a very nice body. I will say that, but
okay. Moving on.
It's a butterface, Lance. It's a butterface.
Oh my god!
I'm just gonna say it.
Oh,
and I know Victoria and everybody's gonna kill me, but God. All right. Anyways.
Yes.
Back to what we were saying.
There goes our audience.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate it. But yeah. Anyway, so Alex kissing her and all kinds of stuff like that. He then sends her to go get Ritter out of the control room. And then Cable notices the camera footage that Charlie got shot, her guide. And then all of a sudden, here comes the paramilitary agents with Bruno, Jewish Rambo, and a bunch of other people. So they come in and attack her, and they raid Alex's laboratory. And then Ritter steps forward, but then pulls off his mask to reveal that he was not Ritter.
Oh, yeah.
But he was Anton Arcane the whole time.
This is when the camp is turned up to 11.
Man, movies just love their masks to make you just, boy, you put on a plastic mask and it looks real.
Yeah.
In every old movie back.
Are we not even going to acknowledge the whole, like, there for, like, 5 or 10 minute spiel? Cable, like, knows fucking karate and how to shoot a gun.
Oh, yeah. She knows everything, man.
Or is that before or after? I thought that was before.
I don't know, but she knows everything. I mean,
well, then that fucking karate chop that
I wouldn't fuck with her.
Jewish Rambo gives to her. Right.
But yeah, so like the big reveal happens very early on in the film. Yeah. And then Arcane shoots Linda.
Yeah.
Which is just rude.
Yeah.
I mean, just
His white sister.
We're not fans of guns here on Misters of the Dark because we prefer to be up and close when in personal.
We do our killing manually.
Exactly, with knives and knuckles.
Yep.
Knives and knuckles.
Never goes out of style.
Never goes out of style. And then Alec grabs the beaker of the green stuff, tries to run out of there, but trips and causes the spilled chemicals to set him on fire because remember, they're explosive.
Yeah.
So they set his ass on fire.
Yeah.
And he gets up and runs.
Yes, that one of the greatest fire. Dude.
Especially because you think he's going to go straight out the door and into the swamp. But oh no. He's got to run a ways to even get to the dock. So this man's on fire for at least a solid 20 seconds.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's almost like he stops and get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, man.
He reads the paper. He runs a little.
He stops and he's like, was that my sister or my wife? I don't know.
Contemplates that for 15 or 20.
I was just going to go in the water. And then he finally jumps into the water. I mean, and the whole time with modern eyes, I'm looking back and I'm going, this is a man on fire in real life. This is a stunt man on fire. Like
the 80s, man.
Even Kane Hodder's looking back going, damn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's the 80s. The 80s are just like, let's set a guy on fire for 20 minutes.
Woo, man. And that's the thing. It's like,
man.
It makes a difference. And they always got their arms out when they run for safety protocol.
Yeah.
Which is something you don't see when they're CGI burning.
Yeah.
But they're always running. Like Jesus hanging on a cross on fire. Like these guys are just running. Oh my God. But yeah, so he finally dives into the swamp to extinguish the flames, and then a bunch of explosions burst from the water and he gone. Like no one floats to the surface, nothing's there.
Yeah.
They just like, well, he did. It's fine. The swamp's gonna eat him.
He's been running around on fire for 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's good. He stopped and got coffee? Oh, he good.
Yeah.
Find him later. He's fine. He's fine. But yeah, so they then proceed to destroy the entire laboratory and everything and do everything they can to remove all the evidence of the team's work. And at dawn, the henchman finally captures Cable and attempts to drown her in the swamp, which is gross.
This has one of my favorite lines in cinema history. And I still use this line to this day for, random things.
What's that?
Right when before he pushes her in the water, he says, "Say hello to your boyfriend, baby." I love that line for some reason. I always have.
Oh, that's great. I love it. You can tell how important he is because every description I see of the scene just calls him a henchman. So I don't even know what his name is. He's even got a name. He's got to be.
I think it's Ferret.
Is it Ferret? No, Ferret's Rambo. Was it Rambo?
Yeah.
Oh, so
he says it.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. So yeah, it's Ferret. So, because the only two that I know that are named are Bruno and Ferret. The other guys, I don't think they have names. But yeah, at that point, this is our first taste of Swamp Thing because this is when a big green human-like creature drags her ashore and chases two of Arcane's men. And this is where we get our first kind of glimpse of what's happened. So apparently, this has happened within a few hours, I would say, of him getting messed up. We then head over to the mansion where Arcane's hanging out, and he's hanging out with his secretary. Oh yeah, this is where I'm saying this dude is totally a Bond villain. He's just hanging out in this big giant mansion. He's got a secretary, hot blonde, hanging out there, has no name.
Yeah,
she's just there. And they are going through all of the plunderings there, the pillage. They were essentially looking for all of Dr. Holland's work, and they've got 6 notebooks, and they realize there's 2 weeks missing, so that there's 7. There's a 7. And at this point, we already know this, right? That that Cable found the book ahead of time, right? Before she got kidnapped, she found that 7th book and hid it, and then grabbed it and kept it, so she has it. So they're pissed off, and so of course Arcane's like, y'all better get your shit together and get this goddamn book. Go find it.
I want this fucking book.
I'm a rich guy. I'm
a British rich guy.
I'm rich and I got stuff that I want. But anyways.
Yeah.
So they realize that's there. Then one of my favorite things happens, because this is when Cable escapes. She gets out of the way, and she runs to a nearby gas station to telephone her employers for help, which introduces her to the greatest character in the history of movie cinema, is Jude. I love Jude so much. I mean, this kid has no fucks. He apparently has no parents and runs a gas station.
Yeah.
He can't be more than 14. If that. I mean,
he does a little Fonzie move on the Coke machine.
He is a classic, like, just Southern chill dude. I love him so much. And so I'm so glad he's in this movie a lot. But he's like, I got a telephone in there. I do. Yeah. He's basically like the dude that played Putty in The Tick, like from Seinfeld on the original Tick. If it was him, but as a kid and African American, like, because he's just like, yeah, you crazy white woman. I don't even know what's happening. Like, he's the best dude. But so she calls her employers, which connects her to Ritter, which she doesn't know that Ritter turned out to be Arcane, which is crazy because remember, Alex sent her out of the room to go get something when Arcane came in.
Yeah. Is that when she turns into karate action hero person? Yeah.
So she doesn't know. So the operator, her government employer, connects to Ritter, which of course we know is Anton Arcane, who claims to have been called away from the site before the attack. She then reveals that she stole Alex's last notebook and that she would wait for Ritter's return with Jude at the gas station.
She basically just tells the bad guy
everything. But of course, they show up, fire into Jude's gas station. Poor dude. After doing a karate chop to get her a Coke. And then they're being chased through the forest. And then here comes Swamp Thing. He appears and he scares them away. And we find out that he's immune to gunfire. So we're starting to see.
Is this the scene where he rips off the roof of that car?
Yes.
And it's like blatantly, like on strings or something.
Yeah.
The way it flies off.
And it's funny because I didn't even watch the HD version. I watched the SD version, but you could still see it. You could still see it. Like, so that tells you that even back then, didn't see it. But yeah, he scares them away. And then Cable freaks out and tries to then escape Swamp Thing.
Tells him to shoot. Like he's a stray cat or dog or something.
I'm like, this thing just saved your life, and you're like, no.
Well, it's not only that. It's a big fucking green humanoid monster.
They got to deal with her big hair. I'd be scared of that.
True.
Sheesh.
True.
But Jude's like, don't worry. Hunters around here, they happen to have a cabin where they just like hang out and stuff. I bet you we could get you some clothes.
I'll take you to it, I guess.
Do you wanna go to my cabin and stuff? I mean, shit's crazy.
It's no big deal.
We've just had gunfire at us. He
was like Napoleon Dynamite before Napoleon Dynamite.
I love him so much. But then they, Alice and Jude. So Jude's got a boat too. So they're boating around.
For a 14-year-old, he kind of just has it all.
I'm just telling you, man. He is a man of the swamp. I mean, she shouldn't have gone with Charlie in the beginning. She should have gotten Jude.
Yeah, Jude.
Just saying, because Jude wouldn't have got shot.
He has all the sweet hookups.
He does. He's got all the sweet hookups, man. I bet you he's got nunchucks in that gas station.
Right. Bet you does. But he's awesome at karate.
Oh, man.
I bet he's good as Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau.
For those 5 minutes, she was like a karate and gun master.
Yeah. Well, while they're boating around, Arcane tells his boys to go find her because he's now he's seen the Swamp Thing, and so he's like, we need this.
Yeah.
We need a Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I want to be a Swamp Thing.
I want to be a Swamp Thing. So they're boating around the swamp, and they head over to the laboratory wreckage. She notices that Swamp Thing's out there. So here's somebody trying to get away from Swamp Thing. She goes straight to him. He's crouched among the ruins, which, by the way, I do want to say Swamp Thing is not Ray Wise.
No.
He's played by Dick Durock.
Yeah.
So just wanted to put that out there.
Sounds like a porn name.
Yeah. But this guy, I mean, he played Swamp Thing in every iteration before this new one. So he played he played him he played him in both movies and the TV show. That's why his eyes always to me look the same. You can tell it's the same actor.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
He played a Hulk-like creature in the Incredible Hulk TV series. He played a bad guy on there. He was in Doc Savage, which we know Michael Berryman was in. So this guy was also in that. He was in Falcon Crest, Poseidon Adventure. I mean, he's been in quite a bit of stuff. One of his final film roles was Die Hard with a Vengeance. So, you know, he's
before we go any further, I just want to. What's your take on the Swamp Thing costume?
Oh, the old one? This one?
The one in this film.
Oh, it's god awful. It's god awful. But
in the best way.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is 19
in the best B-movie monster way.
I do feel like they could have put more leaves or something on it or sticks because it basically looks like they took a green tent or tarp and just kind of wrapped it.
He does kind of look like a walking green condom, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like nothing looks like the comic except for the direct face. I mean, they made sure that nose looked exactly like Swamp Thing, and everything like that. But even like the picture on all the posters from back in the day that were painted and drawn, I mean, they made Swamp Thing look like Swamp Thing. And then here's a dude wearing a sweatsuit with a couple green things.
Yeah.
And rubber gloves, like they're obviously green rubber gloves. Like,
it's just crazy because I mean they really did it justice in the sequel and in the series.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what I'm saying. I think they took this costume and improved it for the rest of the things. Because
if you look, because I was looking at earlier, I was looking at images of Swamp Thing, and I was trying to find like a specific, like an image from this film, and I came across a picture, and I thought, okay, this is it, and it was the Derek Mears. It was the new TV show.
Yeah, which is great.
And I thought it was like one from like Return or whatever the series, but no, it was Derek Mears. So I mean something must have worked with it because they've.
Yeah, but I mean, once they get to Return, it's great. There's vines and leaves growing all over, and it fits more. It's just the first one is difficult because there's not a lot going on. I mean, it's literally just green. He's like a green suited. He looks like a fucking turtle with moss on him. Yeah, like it's just basically a freaking shellless turtle that has moss stapled to him is what he looks like. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the costume in this one, but like I said, it does improve.
I don't know, man. I mean, but I love it in just that B movie monster.
Oh,
weapon.
sure.
Yeah.
In that regards, yeah, I love it. It's great. It does its justice. As does his powers. I mean, making a hand glow green to show that you can heal things.
Yeah.
Never gets old.
Mm-mm.
Never, ever gets old. But yeah, I love it. It you're right. It gets the job done. But anyways, so back to where we were. Cable's watching Swamp Thing. He finds that locket of his sister's, Linda, not his wife. And she goes back to the boat.
You keep a locket of you and your sister, right?
No, I don't.
Me either. I feel so bad after watching this.
It's weird though, because I have a locket of me and your sister.
What? Stefan!
You're like fucking Lex Luthor in Superman the movie. Mr. Smucker!
I was thinking more Con. Stefan!
Too. But yeah, at this point, Cable's vowed to bring the final notebook to Washington because I guess she still believes in the government, which is fine. But I mean, the fact that she called the government line to call Ritter and it called Arcane's limousine cell phone,
Yeah.
tells me the government is not what it needs. What it's cracked up.
This is turning into InfoWars, everybody.
Right. But as her and Jude are tooling around, trying to lure the creature from its hiding place among the reeds, there's bullets and grenades that show up from all of Arcane's men's there, trying to get them. Swamp Thing engineers this elaborate boat crash.
Yeah.
He can barely talk,
Yeah.
but he can engine. He's a botanist.
Yeah. So that counts for something.
Yeah,
Right?
he can engineer like nobody's business.
I bet this was the most expensive scene in the film aside from the fucking stuntman having to be set.
But yeah, I mean, shit happens. Of course, Arcane tells Bruno, you need to go find him. This is your fault. Jude gets the notebook. But then Cable ends up hearing him cry out in distress. And so she's kidnapped before she can reply. So she's probably not even sure whether he's alive or not, which breaks my heart because Jude's amazing. And he's like, y'all caught me, huh? Y'all caught me? Please don't.
If I was there, I would have said, "Hey, Jude."
Yeah. Dude, let me tell you, when I'm not working in nowhere at my day job, I had to call a guy named Jude, and our script for our work says we always say, "Hey, so and so," and so immediately I said, "Hey, Jude," and he goes, "Yeah, no," and hung up. And I was like, "Oh, I bet she's mad because I said, hey, Jude."
You know he hears that. Really good one.
Yep. So at this point, Swamp Thing then finds Jude's lifeless body. So my man did die. He's either dead. I mean, it's never really said he's dead, but I mean, he could be on the verge of death. I don't care, but I was broken up. I was more broken up about Jude dying because I think about kids with glasses more so than I was about Thomas J. From My Girl. Thomas J can't see without his glasses.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I was more broke up about Jude. I got to be honest with you, because Jude can't see without his glasses.
I don't know, man. I can't stand Macaulay Culkin. So he's what a fucking weirdo. He is. He's a fucking weirdo.
I mean, he wasn't a weirdo back then. He was just a kid. Well, anyways, Swamp Thing finds our buddy Jude. Says, "Hey, Jude," and puts his green glowing hand on his chest. Thank God. This instantly revives Jude.
Yeah.
Jude.
Swamp Thing's Jesus.
Jude reaches over. This man grabs his glasses and puts them on and is like, "Well, there goes the neighborhood." That's the line that he fucking says. He goes, Well, there goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, as opposed to Cable, who's like fucking shooing him away like I said, like a stray fucking cat.
I mean, I laughed so hard when that man said, "There goes the neighborhood." I rewound it a couple times. Just dying, dude. But at this point, you know, Jude knows that now Swamp Thing has got to be Cable's friend, so he gives Swamp Thing the book for safekeeping, and you can tell Swamp Thing is remembering he's Alec, and he recognizes that book. There's obviously this, okay, so we now know 100% that it's Alec. So we get to Arcane's boat where we've got Cable on there, and things are not going well. But she throws Ferret overboard, which is fantastic. This is where Kung Fu... this is where they needed Kung Fu action, Alice Cable action figure.
Yeah, no shit.
To come out. But Ferret gets tipped overboard, and then she dives into the water and swims ashore. And then she bumps into Swamp Thing, who calls out her name. So this is really getting around the first time we're hearing him speak. So he's like, Cable.
Yeah.
Cable. One of the things that I really liked reading the, I think it's the Alan Moore, when Alan Moore is talking, or not, when they really get into the anatomy of Swamp Thing, about how.
Oh, are you talking? Yeah, I just read something like that today. Are you talking about the? I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but the Floronic Man.
Yeah, Floronic Man.
Yeah.
Where they talk about
that today.
Who's a great character. He's an old character from way before Swamp Thing, but the Floronic Man does that anatomy on 7, so he goes into talking about how he speaks, because he doesn't actually have a heart. He doesn't have all of these things. The plant tried to mimic humanity.
Yeah.
And that's
he was
why
trying to replicate what he knew.
And it was really hard for him to speak. So in a lot of the comics, even to this day, Swamp Thing, they're thought bubbles. They're things that he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for him to speak. So there's a touch of that in this, you know. A touch of that.
That is a really, man, it's been a while since like I said, just from watching the film the other day, I kind of, like you, I've kind of gotten back into, you know, I want to reread the comics.
Me too.
It's been a while since I read that storyline. Man, it gets fucking trippy.
Oh, Floronic Man's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I want to do a big,
just like movie. You know, the whole, Alec Holland isn't trying to replicate the plant. The plants are replicating Alec
Holland. Yeah.
Weird.
Which is really messed up for him, because he's like, I'm not even real. I'm a copy.
Yeah. Really, one of the best. I don't know. I'll go out on the record. One of the best comic storylines ever.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But anyways, yeah. So Alice, Cable, she gets out there, finds Swamp Thing. Ferret, of course, shows up because he's following her, and this motherfucker chops off his damn arm.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude, that's rude.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, he did do it knife and knuckles. So I mean,
knife and knuckles, yes.
Gotta give him that.
He did loud on Mr.
He did do it knife and knuckles, so I gotta give him that. Then in a very creepy, the one piece that's really horror at this point is when he grabs Ferret's head and just snaps his neck in a very slow, creepy, crunchy kind of way.
Very Jason Voorhees.
He grabbed that Daniel DeRemus haircut, dude, and just snapped it.
That Daniel DeRemus. Happy birthday, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, here's your gift, you piece of shit. I love you. I love you. Just joking. But yeah, snaps his neck. This makes Cable faint, which surprises me for being Kung Fu Action Barbie over here. She faints at that. But of course, she wakes up in his embrace, and he presents her with that orchid plant. Now, this is a callback. We didn't mention this, but this is a callback to the beginning of the movie when they were going around the swamp. He grabs this this orchid, and he's like, "Oh, these things grow everywhere. Look how beautiful this is. This is for you." I'm Ray Wise.
I'm Ray Wise.
That's not how he talks.
The most flamboyant actor in all of Hollywood.
Oh God! I'm the Swamp Thing. But gets her that, and at that point, she recognizes, "Oh shit, this is Alec, who I met for 5 minutes and am madly in love with." That's what you don't realize. They didn't spend that much time together. It was maybe an hour. Maybe an hour.
That's such a movie. Especially up to that point in, like, you know, the 80s or whatever. Oh, I know you for, you know.
But then this is where we get the boobs. So the next scene is her swimming in the swamp naked, which I'm like, you gonna get eaten by an alligator. Yeah. You're gonna get eaten by an alligator. At this point, I don't know where Jude is.
No.
He's kind of off doing his own thing. But yeah, so she's skinny dipping and we see boobs. So I, again, kind of surprised. But we do see some side boob and some front boob action there. And creepy old Swamp Thing's just watching this the whole time. And then Cable gets dressed and the Arcane's men are back. I just got a feeling they were on the other side watching. I think all of them were like, we can hold this off, right? She's still bathing.
It's like that episode of South Park where Cartman's trying to get back at that kid for stepping on his pubes. They're out at Jimbo and his friend, with the has to use the speaker box or whatever. They're out there. They're like, "Oh man, what's her name is taking her top off." Husband comes out. "You all need to get out of here." And then it's like 20 people run.
Yep. Anyways, here's Swamp Thing who's dodged bullets. He's ripped the top off of a car. He's thrown people. He's broken necks. He gets captured by a net.
Yeah. I thought this a little.
They capture him with a net. That must be his kryptonite.
Nets.
But they are able to get that final notebook. And so Cable's captured. Everybody's captured. It's not good. So then we end up at Anton Arcane's place, and he's got a fucking banquet going on. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a work awards banquet is happening. But he's basically celebrating his duplication of Holland's formula that he's made on his own via the books. So it doesn't look like much more than maybe a day has passed, but I'm sure it had to be weeks to do this formula in my opinion, but whatever.
Stefan, come on. This is movie
movie
you're
time.
Not using movie logic.
Movie time.
He duplicated it in like 5 minutes.
So he gives a toast to prospective immortality. And then Bruno's like, "Yeah! Have you tried it yet?"
Yeah.
And Arcane's like, "Well, Bruno, there's a reason we were here tonight. We were celebrating you and you getting everyone and stuff like that. And since you're the man of the hour, the man of the night, we wanted you to be the first one to test it to see if it works or not. It was in your drink." And Bruno's like,
I gotta kind of stop. I gotta admit, there's two parts of this movie that, like I said, I loved watching this as a child, but there's two parts of this film that did freak me the fuck out. This is one of those parts.
Yeah, it's weird. Bruno starts convulsing, and he's a big guy. Bruno's the big. He's the big guy.
Yeah.
This motherfucker shrinks to half his size, grows pointed ears and a weird skull. And he's like, so there's a little person playing him now. Looks like something from the Troll movies.
Yeah. What is it they said? I think he turns into kind of like a pig, doesn't he?
Yeah, like a pig or something. But
because they say something later on that he's like he was pig-headed.
Yeah, so it took on his like personality, I guess.
Yeah.
But he can still talk and stuff. And he's mad about it. So Arcane's like, well, screw you, buddy. I'm gonna put you in the dungeon alongside.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah.
You're done. I'm done with you. And trying to figure out why the experiment failed. He's yelling at Swamp Thing now. I don't understand. I did everything exactly how you're supposed to be. This is where Swamp Thing says that the formula doesn't produce strength, but amplifies a person's natural qualities, explaining that Bruno's timidity caused his diminished stature and his pig-headedness caused his form.
Yeah, this is where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
So then why did you turn into a swamp?
Exactly. Why'd you turn into a fucking compost heap? Why did you turn into kindling? Like what? Yeah, they tried to do something kind of like did you watch, I don't know if you did you watch the second Michael Bay Turtles movie, Out of the Shadows? Oh yeah, I watched them both. Remember when they did something kind of like that with Bebop and Rocksteady? I hated it.
Didn't even think about that.
Oh, hated it. It's just like, ugh.
Well, whatever. Anton's pissed. And the whole time, by the way, he had Cable up at that banquet. She was dressed up in a dress with her cleavage showing, and
yeah.
Nobody was like Gardner. It was kind of weird. I didn't understand it. Yeah. I didn't know if it was implied or not that he was like in love with her or something, because his secretary was way cuter. So I'm not.
Yes. I'll
not
agree.
Really sure. I guess he's one of those, he wants what he can't have, I guess. But yeah, so weird. So anyways, Arcane goes back to his study and he says, screw it. He's going to drink a glass of the formula. And this whole time, you've got Cable and Swamp Thing now are in that dungeon together, and this beam of sunlight comes in and regrows the Swamp Thing's missing arm.
Yeah.
And because of that, because now that he's got his second arm back, he now has the power to free himself, Alice, and Bruno.
Well, they say like when you break a bone, when it heals, it's twice as strong, maybe. Maybe it's one of those deals.
Maybe. I don't know. Or it's the sun. He's got Superman powers. Like, he just soaks up the sun. I mean, he's producing chloroform or not chloroform, chlorophyll. We use chloroform. He uses chlorophyll. So, excuse me.
More like borophyll.
Right. And at this point, at the same time as his arms is growing back and he's busting them free, we've got Arcane turning into the weirdest, like, Wolfman ever.
What the thing? Okay, this is the thing. Okay, like we said earlier, the formula it accentuates your personal essence. Yeah. Fucking whatever. What the fuck is Arcane? Because he's man bear pig.
Yeah, he's like I was gonna say a wolf, a bear, and a pig had a baby, and then that baby fucked a Sasquatch.
I don't.
And Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah,
because the man's in full garb. I mean, he's got his shirt on, his pants on. I mean, he's jamming.
When he's transforming, though, like as I stated earlier, there's two scenes in this film that frightened me as a child. That's the second scene when he's in like mid transformation, and like there's a cocoon on his head and he's bleeding. Mm-hmm. That freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, he goes downstairs into the dungeon because he's like, well, I'm going to go get this mofo now. But
yeah,
they're gone because they went through an underwater tunnel leading back to the swamp. He's following them and somehow gets a sword.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm still not sure where he got the sword because he's got a good fight going on with Swamp Thing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, comes back up out the water and has a sword. I'm like, did he just fucking Excalibur this shit? Like, did he just, the lady of the lake, with the lady of the swamp was like, hi, I got you sword. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch that scene again. Maybe he grabs it off the wall. I
want to say he grabs it off.
Maybe it's in the uncut international version.
Yeah. I do want to say he grabs it off like it's some kind of medieval decor or something.
Oh yeah, it's definitely medieval. Yeah. But then he stabs Cable. But Swamp Thing's like, I got this.
Yeah. I'm Jesus. I'm Green Jesus. I'm vegan Green Jesus.
I'm vegan Green Jesus. They fight. He's got a big sword. It don't cut off his arm. No. I mean, Ferret was able to do it.
Yeah.
Knife and
he
knuckles,
didn't even have the potion or the
nope, knife and knuckles, dude. Knife and knuckles. That's all I'm saying. But he ends up killing Arcane, supposedly. Yeah. And he's basically like, I've done my hero duty. I'm gonna head back to the swamp.
Let me just say, when he kills Arcane doesn't have blood, but he has that it's some kind of gunk. And growing up, like I said, you can always watch this film. It always reminded me of this nasty vanilla like pudding kind of substance they used to serve at the school cafeteria. Tapioca. That's what he bleeds.
It's tapioca, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was Nickelodeon gack.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was Taylor's Black.
Like, we've got this old curdled pudding. What do we do? Tell them it's tapioca.
Yeah. But I always think of that every time I see like the gunk coming out of his body. That's what it always goes to.
But yeah, so she's saying, no, Swamp Thing, don't leave. We can still, your brain is good. We can do this together. And he's like, no, I gotta go, but I'll be back someday. And then Jude pops out from nowhere and is like, is he coming back? Like, because that was real ambiguous, Cable. Like, I mean, what's going to happen? And she looks at him and then she starts to say something and then she just doesn't say anything. No. And they just watch Swamp Thing walk away into the marsh. And that's our movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Guys, she wasn't her character from Creepshow.
You never know.
Well, what is it? Tell him to call you Charlie. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Man, it's been a while.
Oh man, whenever she like gets older, like, and she starts playing those creepy moms and aunts and stuff. Oh, that's when I think Adrienne Barbeau does her best work. Yeah. But yeah, so that's our film. Good movie there. I enjoyed it. It's out on, it's not free on anything. I'll tell you that. No, me too. Same. And the Blu-ray version with the extended cut is available. Came out in 2019. Let's talk about the reception here a little bit. Did have mixed to positive reviews. Let me see here. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars.
No shit. Really?
Which is super surprising.
Yes.
There's one critic that said it is unabashedly campy, often to its detriment. Swamp Thing is not without its charms, however. Among them, Adrienne Barbeau as the damsel in distress. Far from a damsel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It says here, author John Muir notes that Swamp Thing differs in many respects from Wes Craven's usual work, in that Craven's intent was to show the major Hollywood studios that he could handle action, stunts, and major stars. Craven substituted his usual focus on the problems of family and society for pure, unadulterated entertainment. Nevertheless, some of Craven's usual themes and images do appear. For example, in Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes, Craven shows a close connection between the landscape and his characters, and none was more connected to the landscape than Swamp Thing.
Obviously.
So, one journalist wrote, as much fun as this film can be and often is, it's equally often difficult to ignore that Swamp Thing ultimately is, at its core, a rubber suit. And of course, we've got the sequel, Return of Swamp Thing, which we'll cover down the road, the television series, the animated series, the reboot, which I really, really liked. And the only reason it got canceled was due to the tax issues in North Carolina where they were filming.
Of course, all comes down to fucking money.
Yeah, it all came down to money and politics. That's why it got canceled. And then
I still haven't watched it.
It's so good. It's so good, and you're like, fuck. But there's always, it's part of the DC universe, TV universe. So there's been talks for a while about bringing that character into the fold of some of the other projects that are going on, as they do, like with Supergirl and Constantine and things. Well,
and I've heard, like, as far as the new TV series, it goes pretty hard on the horror, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
because Swamp Thing always had that. I mean, that's why we're talking about it now, because it was
always part of DC's horror.
Yeah,
stuff. One of the cool things is Adrienne Barbeau does have a cameo in the new Swamp Thing series in one of the episodes, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I don't know how much it made because I don't see that information anywhere. I'm gonna look at that while we're chatting here. But yeah, I very much enjoy this movie. I love comic book movies, and it's crazy to think that really around this time, the only other superhero movie that was around was the Superman movies.
That's exactly what I was thinking yesterday.
So here's DC. DC said, let's put out Swamp Thing before we put out Batman.
Yeah. I thought that. I swear I thought the same exact thing.
Because people don't understand how popular the Swamp Thing comic books were even before Alan Moore. Swamp Thing has been a very popular character for a very long time.
Yeah. It's so odd because, he's just such a... Yeah, I mean, that name, Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that, I guess for the, the person that doesn't read comic, you think, oh, that's a superhero, But yeah, I mean, it's just, but they were some of the most best, well-written comics at that time.
Yeah, they were really good. I'm not seeing how much it made here. I'd have to look that up. Doesn't matter though. It did successful enough that they were like, let's make a sequel. Yeah. Let's make it. Well,
I want to say I heard on some, I don't know if it was a documentary or interview or what, but Wes Craven considered this, like his first hit.
Yeah.
And, and so did other people. And I don't know. That just says something to me. Somebody is,
Yeah, like I said, up until this day, up until he died, he said that. And here's a little fun fact here. Swamp Thing is one of only 2 DC Comics movies to feature female nudity.
What's the other one?
Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
Both
really?
Both Alan Moore. Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't know. Joker didn't feature any nudity?
I don't think so.
Even with the tar rating? Well, try to put that movie out of my mind as much as I can. I enjoyed it, but people, before we have people say, what the fuck? I liked it. I thought it was a good film, but it's just so fucking sad. It's so fucking depressing.
You're depressing.
I know.
But yeah, so again, I don't know how much it made, but I know it, like we said, it did well. I really enjoyed the movie, and there's something special about it, realizing that it's a Wes Craven film. Yeah. There is a magic to it. Jude's the best character ever written in the history of mankind. And I just, Adrienne Barbeau, she's great. I mean, you can't go wrong with her. Yeah. I mean, she's great in every movie she does, whether she's playing a creeper, a sex symbol, or whatever, she's the best. So, like, I ain't mad at her at all. It did also, it got nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Horror Film. Yeah, it didn't win, but it did get nominated.
As horror film?
Yeah, as horror.
Oh, wow. So people even back then were looking at it more as a horror. Because I mean, I knew it featured a monster, but I always thought, you know, especially when I was a kid, you know, little, I always thought of Swamp Thing more as like, kind of like DC's answer to the Hulk. That makes any sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw him as a monster, as character, but I never really saw it as horror.
Yeah, I guess it's just that they always put him in horror.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, he first appeared in House of Secrets 92 and 1971. So, yeah, I don't know. At that point, he'd been around for just over 10 years when this movie came out. Just pretty impressive. You know, it's funny, we look at today, we look at things like, why is Harlequin getting her own movie? She's only been around so long. We still haven't seen a this or that movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen a Zatanna movie, but we got fucking Harlequin, you know? And so I'm sure there were really DC people like, well, how come Swamp Thing gets his own movie? Batman's been around forever. How come there's not a Green Lantern movie? So, very, very cool. What else was I trying to look up here? Oh, here's a little fun fact as well. In the uncut version, I was absolutely correct. The extra 2 minutes do indeed give you extra seconds of full-on breast shots. So there's also the other thing that's taken out is at the beginning of the party scene where Bruno's kind of being, you know, at the banquet, there's apparently 2 dancing gypsy women taking off their clothes. So both scenes that were cut were just 2 minutes of boobs. Is essentially at the end of the day.
All right, well, with that being said, I'm starting to grow a little.
Yeah, we'll get out of here. Go swim in the swamp. But I did want to say I very much enjoyed this film. Looking forward to, again, watching Return of Swamp Thing. It's a fun film for what it is. And I give it, I'm not going to rate it because it doesn't need rated. It's all the thumbs up. Like, it's just, it's fun. It's a fun film and still is. So.
Great. Yeah.
And with that, dear friends, we come to the end of another delightfully disturbing episode of Misters of the Dark. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you to the Fearscape Media Network, and thank you to Corey Adams and Ashley Jones Adams from Nothing Wrong for our musical theme. See, Lance, I told you it'd be easy to pass the time. Oh, would you look at that? I guess some little body did have a little too much fun today, my Mr. Man.
No, get away! Get away!
Uh-oh.
How are you still alive? It's Voodoo. Oh. Please, for the love of God, don't say Tutti Frutti.
Lance, calm down. You're having a nightmare.
You're so vanilla.
Oh boy. I'll deal with you in a second. But before we go, dear friends, I'll leave you with this. In nature, there is no dirt. Everything is in the right condition. The swamp and the worm, as well as the grass and the bird. All is there for itself. Good night.
At least take your dentures off first, please, for the love of God.